Hello everybody, this is Zackie Xan, back here again with the War Within beta. I'm still going over hero talent trees, and on this installment I'm going to be doing the Slayer hero talent tree. Specifically ran through Fury as the main. I say this every talent video. If you haven't seen my video about hero talents, go watch that, but because there's a lot that I could explain, but I'm not going to explain. Basically, if you're Fury or Arms, you have the chance to pick the Slayer side sub talent hero tree. What the Slayer hero tree is basically about is using execute through sudden death, which if you've played Warrior, you know you proc sudden death just by fighting, really through any move. I don't know specifically how or why you proc sudden death. I know, okay, wait. Your attacks have a chance to reset the cooldown of execute and make it usable on any target at any time. Normally they have to be at 20 or what, like 35% health. I don't know if it's still yet like that to use execute, but sudden death makes it so that you can use it whenever. That being said, within the Slayer talent tree there are things that increase the effectiveness and usage of sudden death and the execute. That's one part of the tree. The other part of the tree builds on this new debuff called Overwhelmed. What Overwhelmed is, it's a stacking debuff on the target where it increases the damage of the target taken by 1%, stacks up to 10 times. Long story short, it can make a target or multiple targets in a group take up to 10% more damage, and yeah. So let's cut into the actual talents themselves. You have the first keystone talent called Slayer's Dominance. Your attacks have a high chance to overwhelm your target's defenses and trigger a Slayer strike dealing XYZ damage and applying marked for execution. This is the sudden death thing in the so it increases the damage is taken by the target from your next execute by 10%, stacks up to 3 times. It has like a 30-second cooldown, so you don't have to worry about losing the stack of the whatever if you don't get sudden death or if you can't use execute. You know what I mean? Okay, next one. The sudden death chance to reset the cooldown and make it usable is increased. It's more effective, you have a higher chance, and more often than not you're going to trigger that effect. Also, when you use it, you get another buff that when the next time you use Blade Storm is also important in the whole Slayer archetype. When you use Blade Storm, the next time after using sudden death, you have one more strike in the Blade Storm. The time doesn't change, but there's another hit thrown into however many hits already that the Blade Storm hits for. And you could stack this up to 3 times, meaning you could do 3 additional Blade Storm on hit damages to whoever. You get 3 more when you use it, if you stack it. You know what I mean? Okay, so it's about using sudden death, stacking certain things, and managing that kind of stuff. Each Blade Storm applies Overwhelmed to any target hit. This increases your damage that you deal to them by 1% for 20 seconds, max 10 stack. This one, just like the marked for death debuff, also has a very long duration, which means it gives you a lot of opportunity to continue to stack it. You know, if it goes to 10 stacks and you're at 7, you know, you have a very long time before it runs out for you to get 8, and then it resets. Thankfully. The next one is a pick or choose talent, and this one isn't about damage or anything. This one is more about utility and how you as a player want to play. I went with Relentless Pursuit. Charge grants 70% move speed for 3 seconds after using it. What I really like is it removes all movement appearing effects. This effect cannot occur more once than every 30 seconds, so you can't just keep spamming it. But anything that will get you out of a root or a snare or even a slow, it's big time sometimes. The other one, Heroic Leap, reduces the cooldown of charge by 5 seconds, and charge reduces the cooldown of Heroic Leap by 2 seconds. Now, while with that one you might get more mobility, in a way, at times, it's not about having mobility. It's about having mobility when you need it, kind of, if that makes sense. And that's why I like Relentless Pursuit. This one's like you have to just spam Heroic Leap and spam Charge. Well, guess what? Neither of those moves are actually in your rotation. So, besides the point. Next tree down, we have Death Drive. You heal for 15% of the damage dealt by sudden death. What that means is the execute that you use because you triggered sudden death. Sudden death will trigger an execute you can use whenever, and when you use it, you're going to heal for 15% of that damage. That's always cool. Each strike of again, alright, my bad. The next tree down, you have another one where you could pick one or two. I went with Coaling Cyclone because what it does is it increases the strike of every Blade Storm hit by an additional 20% damage, but that damage is split between all targets. It's still, in my opinion, it sounds like it does more damage than this one, Brutal Finish, where it says your next Rampage after using Blade Storm deals 50% damage. While that's awesome, and it's basically like a big Rampage, it's like a crit. It's not even a full crit. It's half of a crit. And you only get this after using Blade Storm, and you can't use Blade Storm like all the time. It is on a 1.5 minute recharge. They give you 2 charges if you go down and get this one or something. But yeah, even still, with the 2 charges, it's not enough for one Rampage. Rampage is like, it's good, but it's really not worth 50% extra damage when you could get this one. That's, trust me, on paper, I know that one does more damage. Next over, we have Fierce Follow Through. Bloodthirst, critical strikes increases the damage of your next Bloodthirst by 15%. And I know within the talent tree and as Fury, you like kind of stack critical strike on Bloodthirst. So to me, I like this one. The other one, Opportunist, is basically the same thing but with Raging Blow. Raging Blow can reset its cooldown, and when it does, the next one that you use, the damage is increased. So it comes down to, what do you like more, Bloodthirst or Raging Blow? Right now, I feel like Warriors are going to be more about spamming Bloodthirst over Raging Blow, so I'm putting all my marbles on Bloodthirst. We're going to go down again, next talent tree, or next, whatever you want to call it. Marked for Execution increases the critical strike, chance, and damage of your next execute target, whoever you use it on. So you go back to this, you have Marked for Death, where you have a chance to apply a debuff where the next time you use execute, it's going to be increased damage by 10 to 30%. So you go back down to here, and I don't know if it's going to stack the same way and be like, oh, it's going to be an extra 30 or 30% crit chance and damage. If it is, that's crazy. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. So next one over is Reap the Storm. Bloodthirst has a 20% chance to cause you to unleash a Fury of Steel, striking all enemies for 100,000 damage, and again, applying Overwhelmed. It's all about making sure that you're keeping your stacks of Overwhelmed on at least your main target. Overwhelmed can be stacked on multiple targets, but from what I've seen so far, it's probably really only going to be able to be kept up with on 1 or 2 targets if you're good. They also, in the pre-beta, it says a Flurry of Steel. They said in the pre-beta that it was basically a Blade Storm to unleash a mini Blade Storm. So, and that's why it says when you use Blade Storm, you're going to apply the stacks of Overwhelmed. And again, this is why I'm saying, because this talent right here is about Bloodthirst, these Fury Warriors specifically are more about spamming Bloodthirst. Next over, Raging... look at me, I'm a friggin' dummy. Raging Blow damage increased by 20%. So I guess they really do try to make it like one thing isn't going to be better than the other, because both of these talents right here, buff into and power up Raging Blow and Bloodthirst, which are your 2 main moves outside of like the other rotation. You're basically going to be spamming Bloodthirst and Raging Blow and Blade Storm so that you can proc execute on targets that are marked for death, and hit them crazy. And while you're doing that, you're going to stack up this debuff called overwhelmed, where they're going to take more damage. So it's kind of like a managing a debuff hero talent tree. But again, the debuffs right now in the beta are like 20-30 seconds, so it gives you plenty of time to give you, I guess, to get that next stack or that reset, so that you don't lose all the stacks on the debuff. Because at the end of it, your last capstone talent in this whole tree, when you do use execute on a target that is marked for execution, which you go back to here, could be up to 10 to 30%, you both reduce the cooldown of Bladestorm by 5 seconds and apply more stacks of Overwhelmed to the target per stack of marked for execution consumed. You can now use Pummel and Stormbolt while Bladestorming. That's also pretty cool. But talking about the first part, you could have up to 3 stacks of marked for death and marked for execution. And when you use execute on that target, you're going to reduce the cooldown of Bladestorm by 5 to 15 seconds, and you're going to apply 2 to 6 stacks of Overwhelmed. Basically, this whole talent tree is speeding up the rotation time of the warrior by giving you, more executes, more Bladestorms, and making all those kind of things like really effective and giving them a reason why you need to use them. Going through these trees already, I'm starting to see in a way that Blizzard is oh crap, I really forgot what I was gonna say. So what I was gonna say is Blizzard is trying to make it like you're gonna use less moves, but the moves you are going to use are going to be more important, more effective. They're going to deal more damage. They're going to trigger more effects, whether they're buffs for you or debuffs on the enemy. That's what the Slayer tree seems to be. It's just basically about spamming your moves, building these buffs on the target or these debuffs, using execute from sudden death whenever it procs, using Bladestorm not even only when you use it, but when you need it to stack this Overwhelmed. Because like I said, while the Overwhelmed debuff has like a 20-second cooldown, God forbid you're at 9 stacks and for some reason it hasn't procced and you have a Bladestorm up, you go maybe proc the Bladestorm to keep the stacks, if that makes sense. I'm not entirely sure. It's 1 stack, 1 damage up to 10% more damage. While it seems like, to me, it doesn't seem like a crazy amount. Like if you lost your stacks, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Who knows how they're really going to change that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm going to go through a little damage rotation. That basically is the gist of it. I do want to see how this works in Arms. I think it works better in Fury because it's more about getting more attacks off to proc certain things, and Fury gets off technically more attacks from the dual wielding than Arms.